Good morning, everybody. Hi, my name's Karen Kong, and welcome to my This or That Thursday. If you're joining me for the first time, I like to post 2 cards in my group on Wednesdays or earlier, or later sometimes, depending on how the week is going. And I ask my crafting community to vote on a card for me to make live on Thursday mornings. So today I have this card to make for you. So I'll just tell you about this technique that I was trying out and it didn't quite work out. But let me get set up first. I'm just going to get it streaming on my desktop so that I can see your comments. So if you're here live, say good morning, tell me that you're there, because I really prefer talking to people instead of just talking to myself. Let's see. Okay, looks like I am streaming. Let's see if there's any comments. Okay. All right. So, let me switch over to my desktop, and I'll show you what I've been making. Okay. Just close your eyes while I put this in my phone stand. Just a second. I'm just switching the orientation, otherwise it'll show up in the wrong orientation. Okay. Does that look straight? Not quite. All right, and I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. Okay. So, here we go. So, this is the card I made, and it was actually an attempt at an eclipse technique, which is where you die cut the background out and then you raise it up. And using, like, the way I've seen it used a lot is with words. And it just makes a very subtle pop to the letters. And I found that with this particular card, so I chose a medallion, the pretty medallion for the background, and I realized afterwards when I tried to put the die cut letters back on top of the white, I couldn't read them, so I left it white. But I'll show you what it looks like if you put the die cut letters on top, which it works really well when you're using a more solid color background. So the Facebook group, the Stampin' Up! Facebook group, actually posted this just recently, and they had 2 cards. One had a floral background, and the other sample had like more like different shades of blue, sort of like a water scene, so 3 layers of blue. So there's not as much pattern in that, and it was much easier to read the words. But I found, because mine is so busy, when I put the die cuts of the original background on top, whoops, I'll show you, it was really hard to read, and I was debating whether or not I should really do this, put them back on, that is. And I decided it was just way too hard to read, and it was too hard to make out what it was. See? Okay, so now you can see that they pop, right? Let me lift it up so you can get a little better look. Okay, so you can see that they kind of pop, right? But it's really subtle and it's hard to read. So I decided that I would have to try this again sometime with a more solid background, and I would leave these letters white. But I do like the white. The white looks like pretty effective, and it's a nice, I don't know, depth. Like you can see, I don't know if you can see on an angle here that it's raised up. Like you can feel it for sure. So that's what I'll show you today. It's really easy to do. So what I used for this is a thick paper. I didn't use the regular basic white. I used the thick basic white, And it's much better for when you're doing a lot of coloring, which I did with the blends markers. And also for raising the letters, I used 3 layers of white die cuts to raise the letters. Okay, so I went ahead and I already die cut all my words so that because I'm going to be doing it 4 times in total, right? I have to do it once to get it cut out of this, and then 3 times to get the layering. So you might, I don't know if you're asking yourself why I wouldn't just put the layered letters right on top, but I found that die cutting it out of the background helps me to line up the letters really nicely, and especially when you're trying to place the insides of these, because these are little tiny pieces that you have to place back inside of these letters when you're done. So other than that, it's fairly simple card. So I'm going to get started. I'll cut my card base first, and I already have a thick basic white already ready. I just want to double check that I'm streaming in the right place, because I'm just getting a message from Sandra asking if I'm doing my live, and clearly I think I'm doing my live right now. So hopefully she'll join in, and I'm not sure if I'm not streaming in the right place. No, it looks like I am. Okay, so let me get my paper. Oh, I should move things out of the way first. There's just never enough room on my desk. Doesn't matter how big it is. Oh yeah, so I use the Nothing's Better Than dies for this to get the Love You More Than. I think that's pretty much the only, set other than the alphabet set. Oh, hi Tara, thanks for joining in. That I have that has like words, like scripted words, and I'm hoping to maybe pick up some more, because I think those would be really useful. I know that there's the Amazing Thanks set, but I've been holding off of that one. I was looking for, I guess, maybe a happy birthday, I don't know. And then of course the pretty medallion is the background. The everything does not come from this set. It has an everything here, but I found that I was thinking it would be kind of hard to mask that off because it's got letters below and above. So I used the On the Horizon set because it has the word everything. I couldn't find an anything. Ideally, it would have been Love You More Than Anything, but everything was as close as I could get. So I used that one. Okay. So let's make some room. These are all the blends markers I use to color. Okay. And let's see. So my card base is a standard 8.5 by 5.5 piece of paper. So that's an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper cut into half. So let me just measure it off right here at the top, 5.5 inches. And I will make sure to use the cutting blade, not the scoring blade, although it's not crucial because just the other day I used the cutting blade instead of the scoring blade and cut my sheet when I didn't mean to. Okay. So that's half, and I will score it at 4 1/4 right here. And this time I'll make sure to use the scoring blade, which is the light colored blade. Okay. And I don't need to cut my mat because I already have that ready. I'll just fold this and move it out of the way. Okay. All right, so that's out of the way. So I have my pretty medallion already lined up on my Stamparatus. So I really recommend using a Stamparatus if you want to stamp like this. I've seen other methods where you have really big stamps where you actually lay the stamp flat on the block and you can just lay your paper on top. and rub it that way. So, but I have my Stamparatus, so I'm going to use that. Okay. So this particular stamp is so big, I can't even put my magnets on it because they will be in the way otherwise. So I'm just going to leave them off to the side here. And I already lined it up last night so that it would be ready to go and you wouldn't have to watch me line it up. Yeah, I've been looking for ways to use this stamp more, but I do like it, and I want to use it as a background, like a subtle background too. I haven't done that yet, but soon. Just not enough hours in the day, you know. All right, so I'm going to ink it up, and I actually find for this one, it's a little easier to just rub it on with the black. But in most cases, it's better to press, right? Press gently. But this, for some reason, the ink pad for the Tuxedo Black is firmer than the Stampin' Up! Ones, so it doesn't press very much. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right, so... But I like doing it this way because, as you know, such a big stamp, it's easy to miss a spot. And this way, if I miss a spot, I can just press it down again. See, I can see some of the lines are missing here. And I'm just going to press it down to make sure that all the ink came off of this stamp. Because that sometimes I didn't press, because it's such a big stamp. I know that there are brayers. Oh, see, that's much better. Yeah. They have things called brayers. This looks like a little roller that you can use, and I know I have one somewhere, but I just, I haven't used it recently, but it would actually be very useful. So now I'm just checking it over, and that looks pretty good. All right, so let me just clear off this stamp. And I'm going to want to stamp the word everything at some point. So I'm going to have to move this. So if you're watching, I'm curious, when you send out Christmas cards, do you guys like send out the same card to everybody, or do you make like, do you choose different cards depending on who it's going to? Because like, well, in the old days when I used to buy boxes, of course, like you'd have like 24 or whatever it is of the same card, but then you may or may not want to send the same card to every single family, and then you may not want to send the cutesy ones to the more mature recipients. So I'm curious, do you buy like different patterns, and now that you're making them, if you're making your own Christmas cards, are you making different sets? And you know, how many cards do you normally send out? Like, I think I'm somewhere in the range of, I don't know, maybe 20 cards. I don't remember now. Yeah, Tara, you're saying that you got different ones for different people, but if you have like a box of, let's say you were sending to 20 people and you had a box of 24, I guess, I don't know, do you have like different sets too then? It's so hard. I have a collection of like ones that weren't completely used, and so I have to remember who had already received those. Okay, all right, so I think I have to color first. So I'll do some of the coloring. I'll show you how that works. And I actually have pre-colored something else so that you don't have to watch me to color the entire thing, because coloring is very relaxing, but I don't know if you want to watch me color for a half an hour. So I will demonstrate, you know, part of it, and then we'll kind of skip to the end. Okay, so for coloring, it's really just all a matter of personal preference. I looked, you know, I look at a lot of cards on Instagram and on Facebook, and you know, on Google. I'll Google these sets, and I will just decide, you know, what color combination I like and try it out. It's this one, you know, you can make all kinds of color combinations. And how do I put this? Like, some people actually colored in between here and some people didn't. They left it blank. So yeah, it's really personal preference and just kind of trying it out. Actually, I need the other tip on this side. This is dark. Okay, so I will. Yeah, there's still a few penguin ones left. Like, I still have penguin paper from last year that I should really use too. It is really cute, and but still, I want to make new ones. I have lots of new ones too. I'm gonna have to count up how many I've got, make sure I've got enough. Okay, so yes, the blends markers are great, and they work really well with the thick paper, but you can use the regular white paper. It's just that the thick paper will absorb more ink and give you more kind of playtime with the ink, because with the alcohol markers, you have to color a little bit more to get the blending effect. So on this one, it won't be as obvious because they're really small. These are really small sections. So I'm going to do this one in a dark granny apple green, and then I will go do the outside of the leaf in a light granny apple green. And it's very subtle because the area that I'm coloring is just so thin, right? But when I first got the blends markers, I wasn't sure they were working because I wasn't actually blending enough. I wasn't giving, I wasn't coloring it enough to blend properly. So I didn't think they were working properly until I got the hang of it. But once you get the hang of it, it's really amazing, like how the colors just, you don't end up with those lines that you get with like regular markers that, you know, the kids take to school. It's, you don't get any kind of lines, and it just looks way nicer. And you get like depth in your coloring that you wouldn't easily get with regular markers. Okay, so that's just the green. I'm gonna add the light green now. Sorry, I took off my glasses so that I can see my coloring. Yeah, I don't use so Tara's saying she hasn't bought the thick paper before. Oops, I'm gonna use the other tip. Yeah, I primarily, like, there are people who like to use the thick primarily just for the card base. They don't, it is nicer feeling because it is a heavier weight. But when I add so many layers to my cards, I find I'm fine with just using the regular white for my card bases. But there are people who prefer using the thick white for their bases. But I like to use the thick paper just for coloring because it just absorbs differently than the thinner paper, and it gives you a little bit more time to work it in, because you do have to color the blending areas more to get the colors to actually mix together. So it's not very obvious here because it's so skinny. So I'm just going to quickly finish this. And then I'll show you the flower, which is a little bit easier to see the blending. I'm not really spending a lot of time blending here because, again, it's not as obvious. Okay. All right. Oh, I gotta color this in too before I forget. Okay, sorry, I can see my head is kind of starting to get in the way there. All right, so for my flower, I used, what is this, no, sorry, Melon Mambo. That's what it is. Okay, so when I'm blending with the Melon Mambo, I'm going to take the dark one first, and I'm going to add it to the lines to use that as my guide for the shading. So you don't have to be super careful because you are going to blend it. but it does bleed a little bit, so you can't go super close to the edge. You have to be careful about that. So I don't have all the pens. I have a very good selection of the the blends markers, but not all of them yet. Okay, so I'm going to use the other tip because I'm coloring a bigger area. And I'm just going to color over these sections that have a little bit of extra darker marker. And I don't know if you can see that the lines around where they are kind of just melt into the lighter color. And that's how you get the blending effect. And then you get like a really beautiful shading effect without a harsh line. Oops. I'm just going to turn it so I don't go out of the line here. There. I don't know if you can see that. Let me just hold it up closer. Can you see that there is like shading but not harsh lines? I think you can, right? So that is the beauty of the blends markers. Okay, so let me do, like I said, I didn't want you to have to sit through me doing the whole thing. So I pre-colored this one, and I'm just going to finish this one section again. Hopefully you can see the blending. Oh, there, Sandra. Yay, you're here. Okay, so let me just finish this one little flower here, and then we can move on to the die cutting. This is the dark. Okay, so yeah, I always start with the dark and then I add the light. I've seen other demonstrators who use the light first and then add the dark, but I'm mystified as to how they actually get the dark to blend in without without getting any lines, because I take the light one and I can put it everywhere else, and I don't know, I just don't know how the dark works the same way, because I would have to color in bigger areas in dark color that I may not want to. So anyways, it didn't work for me, but so the way I like to do it is I put the dark on first and then I use the lighter one to fill in and blend. So I add my shading first in the areas that I want darker colors, and then I find it easier to work that order. I'm gonna have to check out the comments after I put my glasses back on, because in order to do the coloring, I need my glasses off. I'm at that age. Do you guys have any idea how many cards you send out a year? How many, sorry, Christmas cards that is, Sandra? Because we were talking about Christmas cards and like what kinds of Christmas cards we send, and like I do have a variety. I don't send the same card to every single family, because if they have small children, I'm more likely to send something cute or fun, whereas you know, adult recipients, they'll probably get more serious or mature cards. And I think I get, I don't know, I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 20-ish, but I send a bunch by email as well to some people that seem to send out theirs by email as well, and it's faster and easier because I'll send them our family picture, and I usually write a newsletter every year too to update friends and family far away on what we've been up to. So, and sometimes like it's writing the newsletter is very time consuming too, so I'm very frequently late in the past few years, although last year was on time. So sending it by email, I mean, sending it to, especially like some places in Australia, like there's no way I wouldn't be able to get it there on time. Sorry, I have to put my glasses on to read the comments. Man. Okay, so Sandra's saying you do the dark first. Yeah, and sometimes you switch in between. Yeah, 20. Oh yes. You know what? If people forget to send 1 year, I might, I'll still send it to them the next year. But if there are several years that go by and I realize, hey, I haven't received a card from them in a long, long time, then perhaps I'll just stop sending at that point. Okay. Sorry. I'm trying not to put my head in the way. Okay, so we'll just finish this last flower and then we can move on with the die cutting. Okay. And do you have different types of cards you send to people now? Like, will you make like more cute cards for the people with families, or do you send the same card to everybody? Oh, I should have used the fine tip one. I'm getting out of the lines here. My coloring. Oy. The other good thing about using the thick cardstock is that you know that with the blends markers it will bleed through the back, and depending on how heavily you color, you may get it going right through the paper, and you got to make sure there's paper behind it, but the thick one won't bleed quite as much, obviously. Not that it matters too much, since nobody's going to see the back, or in most cases you won't see the back at all. Sorry, my head, I can see my head is in the way. A little bit in the way. All right, I think I'm done. Okay, glasses back on. Family gets special rules, I guess. Like if you're, I guess if you're not sending it to your aunt, you might get in trouble. Okay, so let's get the markers put away. All right, so what I'm going to do next is get the die out. And we're going to cut the letters out of the stamped image. Okay, so I'm wondering if I should put it up here this time, or if I should still center it. I think I'll just center it again. Okay, so let's get the cut and emboss machine. Sandra, you had me a little bit worried that I wasn't streaming to the right group for a second when you didn't join. And you were asking me, are you live yet? Thinking, holy crap, who am I streaming to? Okay, so here's my plate. So after all my die cutting for my swap cards, it's pretty scratched up. That was brand new before I started my swaps. So I still haven't assembled them yet. That is on my to-do list, but been getting sidetracked with other things. Okay, so let me just see if this is sort of centered, sort of straight. Kind of hard to tell with this sun. Let's just hope, because you know me, it's gonna bug me if it's not looking straight. If it looks crooked, it will just bug me to death. Okay, I'm gonna go with that. Oh, yes, this is the Eclipse technique, Sandra, except that I didn't actually finish it in the Eclipse technique. Okay, I need my top plate. I'll show you after. I think I showed you already, but it's hard to read because the background that I chose was so busy, and I'm thinking I should try it with like a more solid background, not so busy. Okay, so here we go. All right, I need 2 hands to move this just a second. So now I've die cut this out. I just gotta, now when I take out these pieces, I've got to save all the tiny little pieces from the middle of the letters. And because there's so many words, there's going to be a lot of little pieces. So I've got to be especially careful with this because I'm going to need them, because when you go to assemble this, you're going to need all of these little pieces in here to stick them inside. If I layer, Sandra's saying to layer a piece of vellum between the image and the text. Oh, okay. You mean when I assemble it? I was thinking maybe you were talking about die cutting it, and that's not it. Yeah, I don't know. Because I need to put the first layer of white down. Yeah, I'm not sure. That would be interesting to try right now, but I mean later or another time. But right now, I'm gonna do just the white, and we'll see how that goes. And then if I have time later, I will maybe try that out. There's just not enough hours in the day, though. I'm telling you, and especially now that I'm trying to keep up with exercising again. It's really taking a chunk out of my day. But I find with exercise, I really need to do it first thing in the morning as soon as I can, because if I get wrapped up with other things and then next thing you know, the kids are home and then dinner has to be made and blah, 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 you know. And then once it's like after dinner, well, once winter hits, I'm not really keen to go anywhere in the dark and the cold. I don't know about you. Okay, so I'm going to leave the insides of the letters inside of the die cut so that I don't lose them, because literally some of them are just like tiny, tiny little pieces. Okay, I need my card base now. Where did I put it? Okay, so I'm going to glue this on because I'm going to need to put in my white die cut letters inside. So you can see the ink has come through the back, and a little bit onto the paper back here from coloring. Not too big of a deal. So just let me get some glue on this. And I'm using glue so that I can glue around the die cut area too, so that it doesn't lift. I want it to stay flat. Okay, so I'm just gonna add dots of glue. Because it does kind of look strange when the little pieces in between are lifting up. So I think it's just better to add a little bit of glue, make sure they lay flat. Yeah, so I did the coloring, the pre-coloring last night. I think it took me about a half hour. It's pretty relaxing, like, you know, just coloring. I mean, once you're out of grade school, how often do you get to color? I guess that's why people sell those, what is it, the mandala coloring books for adults. Yeah, this is satisfying doing it with blends markers. It looks so nice after. And then we actually do something with our coloring because we're making cards out of them. It doesn't just stay in the book. Okay, so now just a little bit more glue here. Yes, thank God for seat warmers. Oh, I could not live without my seat warmers in the winter time. It just makes it so much nicer. And remote starters. I don't use my remote starter nearly enough. That's a luxury that you know, I should really take more advantage of since I have it. When it's like minus 20 Celsius outside and like bitterly cold. And I think my metabolism has slowed, well, I know my metabolism has slowed down as I've aged, because like here I have my son always going out half dressed, what I consider to be half dressed, and like, aren't you cold? He's like, no, I'm hot. And here I am freezing. I've got my sweater on and coat on and my gloves. All right. Good. All right. So now I'm going to take my white. Okay, so this is my first set of white letters. I just got to poke out the insides. Yeah, you know what? Yesterday, like, I think it was -3 with the wind chill yesterday in the morning. That's what it said. And I went on a field trip with my daughter's class. They're in grade 5. And there was not one, there were several boys wearing shorts too. And I think Aiden, my son, who's 16, would wear shorts if I let him too. But I said, no, that's too cold. You're walking 40 minutes. You have to put on some pants. I don't know how they can stand it. I would be freezing. That's the downside of getting older, I guess. But yes, getting back to metabolism, that's slowing down, that not only affects your core temperature, but having to lose weight or maintain your weight gets that much harder, doesn't it? Okay, there's one that belongs there. So, all right, so all these little pieces, I'm going to brush those aside. I don't need them. I'm just going to put, actually this time I'm going to put the glue, no, I'll put the glue back here. Actually, it doesn't matter. I'm going to be covering every part of these filled in words when I'm done. Riley doesn't, he actually takes the bus or drives to school, so at least he's not walking in the cold, but Aiden's walking 40 minutes and, like, I don't know, shorts seems kind of silly. So I'm just making dots of glue, try not to put too much glue because I don't want it to squish out. Oh, this is a really thin one. Okay, all right, so that's love. And I'm going to use my tweezers to put these in. Okay, so I'm going to layer 3 layers of white to get the raised effect on this card. Okay, wait. Okay, and it's okay that I have some glue showing because I'm going to cover those up anyways. So now I'm going to poke out the matching holes from this die cut. Oops. And I'm going to put them in as I poke them out so I know what order and where they belong. Oops. Let's just press that in. Perfect. Like, so if you choose like words that have less holes, that would be to your advantage. Because look at the size of this tiny little piece. Oh my God. Thank goodness there's a little bit of glue in there already. I don't have to put glue there. Okay, so I'm going to need to add a little bit of glue in the other spots. I do like how it looks afterwards though. All right, so let's poke out this tiny little one here. Literally the side, like this is probably equivalent to trying to put on the snowman nose or whatever it is in that set. I think this is upside down, so I'm going to put this in like this. I'm trying to figure out which orientation. Here we go. I'm trying to get this off my finger. Oh my gosh. Tricky. But some of the bigger words, like these are fairly small words, so they're tougher to handle. But I know that the amazing thanks is bigger, and that would be easier to do for sure. So I hope they'll make more dies with larger words. Okay. I think this would be a really cool technique to use. And it's not really that hard. It's just a little bit, you just need to take your time, that's all. Okay, so here's you. Let me put in the glue. Whoops, a little bit too much. Okay. There we go. Let's put in the U. Oh, won't stay down. There we go. Oh, this guy doesn't want to stay down. All right. Let me find the holes. Uh-oh. Looks like I'm missing the little section for the Y. Oh, I'm not doing... Yeah, I'm missing the little section for the Y. Okay, well, maybe it'll turn up. I don't know. These pieces are so small. I thought I had kept everything, but... Yeah, I think the amazing thanks will work much better with this. The bits and pieces in between, like in the O's and stuff like that, would be much easier to manage because it's a bigger die cut. This one is tricky. Okay, but after this, like once you're done this part, you're done, right? And this goes like this. Let me just check that none of these pieces here on the side, I think these are all white, so I don't know where that went to. Just gonna check the plate. Nope, not on the plate. I don't know where it is. Oh, you know what? It's stuck in the die. Here we go. There we go, got it. Just need a little bit of glue there now. I could not do this without tweezers. There. All right. So I'm just going to continue with the next word with the white. You know, I can't believe it's like coming to the end of October. We're having to think about Halloween and Christmas. Here we go. Sandra, I'm assuming that there's no more trick-or-treaters in your household. I think your kids are old enough to just hand out the candy for you instead. I have one more trick-or-treater in my house. Okay. This is the O. Gosh, this is the smallest one of all, I think. I hope it was this way. Yes, it was is this way. Doesn't that look great? I really like how it finishes off the card. The little letters just look really good. Okay, oh, it's stuck on there. I'm just gonna stick it right in. All right, so then is the last one. Huh, they just eat the candy. Don't they hand out candy? Like, you must have a lot of kids in your neighborhood. Ringing the doorbell. We don't get a huge amount of kids in our neighborhood. There's a lot of retirees in our neighborhood, but they're slowly being replaced by younger families, and so we get maybe, I would say we get maybe 20 kids on Halloween. But yes, I do realize that when I buy the candy, I am probably going to be guilty of eating half of it. I bought my Halloween candy, but I don't dare open it because otherwise it's not going to make it to Halloween. It's a very slippery slope. You just have one. There's no such thing as having just one of those tiny little chocolate bars. It's impossible. All right, so that's the hardest part, I think, is getting all those little teeny pieces placed inside. And then all you do after that is you continue adding layers. So I would just take this and I will add this next layer. And I'm not going to do the entire thing because I think you guys get the idea. And I can finish it off later. Okay, so this time I'm just going to add the glue to the back of this. Not that it really matters. Either way, I think it's fine. That might be, I don't know if it's easier to put it here or maybe right onto the card. Maybe onto the card is better. But everybody, to each their own. You try it and figure out what works for you. I know that there are fine tip glue pens, but I've always found this one to be okay so far. I don't know if I would repeat this exercise with this particular set of words because they are tiny, but it was good to try it out. Oops. There we go. Just pressing it down to make sure it stays. Okay. All right. So I'm not going to do the rest of it because you get the idea and you know what the final product looks like. It looks like this. I think what I'll do is I'll do the embossing for the last word that I need to add at the bottom. Okay, so my original card uses everything down here, so I'm just going to emboss everything onto a piece of black paper. All right, so I need my Stamparatus and I need my stamp. So like I said, I took this from another set because I found that the word was more easily masked off because I don't need the entire sentiment. Let me just get my black strip of paper, which I have ready. Okay, so I'm going to line this up straight. And one, I just want the word everything. So I'm going to put it here. Oh, of course my phone has to ring. My phone never rings unless I'm on a live. Oh, it's somebody from New Brunswick. I don't know anybody in New Brunswick. Not personally, at least. I don't think I do. Okay. Let's just see if this lines up. Okay, so I'm just going to use the grid lines here to check to see if it looks straight. It looks like it's a little bit on an angle to me, but it's hard to tell. Hard to say. I'm just going to angle it slightly lower. Hopefully. I don't know if that made much of a difference. Okay, well, let's give it a shot. So I'm going to use the Versamark for embossing because you need an ink that will stay wet longer and will stick to the embossing powder. So because I just want the everyone, I'm just going to take a scrap piece of paper. Let me see if I can find one. And cover up. I'm going to take a piece of, here, I just have a piece of like leftover white and cover this up so it doesn't take any of the ink because I don't want anything else to ink. Okay. That looks good. I'm just going to press it down one more time just to make sure I got enough ink on there. Put this away. All right. Let's get out the embossing powder. Right here. Oh, I forgot to use the embossing buddy. That's okay. So the embossing buddy just helps to, it's supposed to help prevent all these little bits of extra dots of embossing powder from sticking in areas that you don't want embossing. I think it turned out okay. Okay. It's a little bit fuzzy. That G looks a little bit fuzzy, but let's go with it. All right, so let me just get my, these are the special ceramic edged tipped ones that won't get hot. I think my tweezers would be just fine too, as long as I don't touch the tips right after I emboss. I'm gonna preheat my my heat gun. This is not a Stampin' Up! One. This is from my stash. It's literally like 20 years old and it works great still. Yeah, that G looks a little bit fuzzy, but that's okay. All right, so I'm gonna use my scissors to snip that off. Okay. Wait, sorry. Just trying not to let it land into the embossing powder, but then I realized I was off screen. Okay, and there's a little bit here I can see is sticking out. All right, let me move this out of the way. Okay, so for this one, I did not pop it up. I found it was really small, so I would just put on a little bit of adhesive, the Stampin' Seal on the back of that, or a tear-in tape, and I'll just adhere that. But this is the idea for this card. So, like I said, I'm just gonna, to finish this card off, when I get off screen, I will just continue adding all these letters. And I've got 3 layers of thick basic white, and that's it. It's really simple. And then if you wanted to make this the Eclipse technique, you would take the die cuts from your original stamped background and put it on top. But like I said, this one is harder to read with this on top, so I'm not going to add these on because like it's really hard to read. So I'm going to leave it white. I like it like that better. So, but I'll try it again with like a less busy background maybe next time. So that's pretty much it for today. I hope you enjoyed watching, and don't forget to comment if you're watching on the replay for the chance of winning some Happy Mail to be sent out your way. So thanks for joining me, and I'll see you guys next week. Have a great week. Bye.